Hello and welcome to Closet Thoughts with Brihat. Today is the 2nd of April 2020, and we're going to talk about society and Varnasrama Dharma specifically. So the question that I have been thinking about is, why is this world so crazy? Why is this world so messed up in so many ways? This is really what got me started thinking about spiritual life when I was in college, starting to think about the world and what are the current issues going on. And I got driven to think more deeply about the world. And I never found a satisfying solution until I read the description of Varnasrama Dharma, which Krishna presents in the Bhagavad Gita. And so, as I've described before, the Bhagavad Gita is spoken on a battlefield, and Krishna, who's the friend and charioteer of Arjuna, who is a warrior, Krishna is sharing these teachings, and Arjuna is a ksatriya, so he's a warrior, and Krishna is urging him to fight in this battle because it is his dharma, or his duty in this Varnashram system. And so I wanted to describe briefly what this Varnashram system looks like, because it's a completely sophisticated understanding of how we can create a perfect world. I haven't seen this in action, but there are extensive descriptions of how this society works in theory and actually how it looked in practice in the ancient times in India. And so basically, this society is called Varnasrama Dharma. And Varna means social order, and ashram means spiritual order. So there are 4 divisions of each, and I'll quickly go through each of them and give a few summarizing points. So Varnas, these are the social orders, and they are brahman, ksatriya, vaisya, and sudra. And so starting from the top, the Brahmans are the intellectuals, or the priestly scholars, you could say. And basically what they do is they study the scriptures, the ancient teachings, which have been passed down, and they teach those, and they accept charity, and they live very simply, and they're detached from society. And so they don't take bribes. They do give advice to the political leaders, but they don't take bribes. They do this in a completely detached way, just explaining the truth from the ancient teachings and how the leaders, the kshatriyas, can ideally lead the world. And so this second order, the kshatriya, in which Arjuna is the managers, the administrators, the warriors of the world. And so these people generally oversee and protect the large body of citizens. So kshatriya literally means to protect from harm. Ksha means to harm, and triya or trayate means to protect. And so this is the duty of the kshatriya. And then under them is the vaisya. And so the vaisya is kind of a business-minded person, one who generally has a little bit more of material desires, wants to make money, and so they generally engage in commerce, in business, money-making, and also agriculture and cow protection specifically. The cow is seen as an essential part of this society because the cow provides protein through dairy products, and very freely too, simple grass, and the cow can convert that into nourishing dairy products. And then finally, the Shudra order is the bottom order, and these are the types of people who generally have not as much intelligence as some of the other classes or orders, and so they are more engaged in service of the other orders. And so they're simple-minded, and they do their service, and their manager or their leader will give them just basic provisions, food, shelter, clothing, whatever they need to survive, and the Shudras are happy with that simple lifestyle. And so just to clarify, there is some confusion and criticism of the caste system which currently exists in India, and it is a perverted distortion of this Varnashram system. The main difference, the main problem with the current system is that it is based on birth and not quality. And so this is very important to understand, is that these different classes or orders are not based on one's birth, it's based on one's qualities. So in the same way as a doctor isn't made a doctor because he is the son of one who has a PhD, a medical license, but a doctor is one who has actually gone through the process and has the qualities and the skills of a qualified doctor. And so in the same way, a brahmana, an intellectual leader, would not be one simply by being born in a Brahmin family, but they would need to possess the qualities. So this is a very, very crucial point. And so those are the social orders, the Varnas. Now the ashrams are the spiritual orders of society. And so these are meant to gradually raise one to self-realization over the course of one's lifetime. And so the general lifespan for this age is described to be about 100 years. And so these orders are divided into 4 in 25-year chunks. So the first 25-year segment of one's life is spent as a celibate student or a brahmacari. That's what I'm currently in this Varnashram system. So I'm spending my time as a celibate student living in a spiritual community, simply dedicating all my time to studying the scriptures and sharing them with others. And then generally after 25 years of age, one would move on to the grihastha ashram, which is the married householder life, in which one is engaging with society and engaging with their family, and one is expected to help uplift one's family members to spiritual realization. And then after this 25-year period, at 50 years of age, one would become a vanaprastha, which means a retired renunciate. And so this would be with or without one's wife or husband. And so generally the vanaprastha would start to detach from material life, detach from their family, detach from their home, their profession, their wealth, and start to be specifically focusing on spiritual realization, spiritual practice. And then at 75 years of age, the final order, or the sanyasa order, is the complete renunciant, and one basically wanders and is completely detached from materialism and is exclusively focused on spiritual realization, God realization. And so these Varnas and ashrams, this whole Varnasrama Dharma system is meant to gradually uplift all of society to God realization, spiritual realization. And it is specifically created for this function. And this is the amazing thing about this Varnashram system, is that it actually has a goal, and it has intelligent, creative structure to uplift all people to the highest perfection of God realization. Whereas our current society is vastly different from this. It's a big jumbled mess, a kind of haphazard conglomeration of a bunch of ideas and cultural values from many different parts of the world. America, the West, generally the entire world is trying to emulate right now, it seems. And this American culture was created in the melting pot of many different ideas, beliefs, and so it's not necessarily created with any specific intention. It's basically a large social experiment, and we can see the results of the experiment are going pretty bad, right? You can judge the tree by its fruits, and so this tree is diseased. This tree of Western materialistic commercialism is completely diseased, and it's completely missing the point of life, of self-realization. This whole society is meant to attach us to our body and attach us to material things and make us ignorant about the fact that we have a spiritual nature. Whereas, on the other hand, this Varnashram Dharma system is specifically designed to allow us to realize our spiritual nature according to our nature. And so this is the brilliance of this system. There's so much more I could go into on this subject, but I just wanted to briefly explain the Varnashram system. If you want to know more about it, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, there are descriptions of the different qualities of those in the different Varnas and ashrams. And basically, the question I wanted to leave with everyone was, what do you think is your nature? Or would you find yourself in the Brahmin or the intellectual order? Would you find yourself more in the leadership, the ksatriya order, maybe in the business-minded vaisya order, or maybe you might find yourself to be a simple servant and you just like to help other people and would find yourself more in the sudra order. And then also maybe we can consider what might be our ashram. We might not be so perfectly situated within this system, but are we more in a student phase early in life? Are we in the married householder stage? Should we start to consider detaching ourselves from materialism and maybe completely enter spiritual practices as our exclusive focus in life? And so I would urge everyone just to consider this system as a whole and what its implications would be for this world if we were to try this, as well as where are you in all of this? Where are you in terms of the qualities of the Varnas? The Varnas, what qualities do you have in the Varna system? And then in the ashram orders, what would your duty be if you found yourself in the vanaprastha order and you are meant to be starting to detach from materialism? Then what might your duty be? What should you do in this situation? So please let me know if you have questions about all of this. It's a fascinating system, and it's incredibly valuable for helping us understand what to do, where to move forward in our spiritual life. So thank you very much for your kind attention. I hope this helps someone out there. Hare Krishna.